people in the world and auctions have driven people into this crazy like madness hysteria of thinking their cars are worth so much, and that's what's called the bubble. Eventually it freaking breaks. What's up, guys? So today I've got another interesting topic I want you to think about. That is automotive auctions. Now I don't mean like, you know, the normal car auctions that dealerships use and everything. I'm talking classic car auctions, collector car auctions, exotic car auctions. You know, those fancy ones that are in magazines and promoted on TV and everything like that. There's something that I was never able to put my finger on that I didn't like about them, and that I always thought was actually bad for the classic car or collector car world. But I finally figured it out. So I wanted to share that with you. I want you to think about it. So let's look at the auctions at first blush and think about what we think that are positive for the industry that they do. The first one's exposure. Obviously, it gets it out there that cars are cool, they're fun, they're exciting, and it makes people want to get them, maybe get in them, drive, have a great time. But here's the thing, here's the journey for me. So I've been restoring cars for a long time. I never had a big collection, but I enjoyed, you know, fixing a car up, selling it or trading, get something different. And, you know, I've had a bunch of different cars over the years. And I would always look in magazines, you know, to see what's for sale. And that was back in the day before the internet started, you know what I mean? Anyway, magazines, you look at really great magazines like Sports Car Marketplace, Keith Martin's deal, where you can see what cars have sold for at auctions, what auctions are coming up, cars for sale in the back, and everything like that. And I've looked through tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of ads of cars in my lifetime. Private individuals that are selling cars, dealerships, you name it. So here's where I'm going with this. The first thing that annoyed me is these cool cars would go to auction, and you don't have the opportunity to call up the owner and hear about the car and its life and how it was taken care of, and feel that person out to see if you can make a deal and get a good deal on it. So these cars end up getting sent to an auction, and you've got to wait until that auction to potentially buy it. You see pretty pictures in a magazine and their description, which, let's be honest, it's not going to tell you everything about a car, okay? And then you hopefully bid on it and win it. And then there's commission fees, and then you got to ship it, and you got to do all these things, and you lose the relationship with the past owner for it. So that was never my cup of tea, and I never wanted to mess with it, so I didn't. But the thing that I realized sometime afterward, I started to think, you know, I had a couple of cars in my past that were pretty special, pretty interesting, might suit a high-end auction well. And I should probably pay attention to driving instead of just talking, but there's a Honda in front of me going, slow, and you're boring me. So these auctions, I would call them up, right? And I tell them what kind of car I got, and I get a feel for them on their ability to market it and sell it. And I realized something. These auctions can't sell a car as well I could on my own. In case you're thinking, well, they set new world records. Well, whoop-de crap. I've set world records on my own selling a car. The other thing is I have complete control over how I market it, when I sell it, if I don't sell it, if I want to take it off the market, anything like that. Once you give a car to an auction, you have no control over how they market it, how they put it up, or what they decide to do and sell it. And all they want to do is get all the sales done to make their auction look great, like no reserves, we sold all the cars, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, sure, if they get a lot of money, it looks good for them. But then you got to pay commissions. So you're giving up control over selling something important to you and marketing it, as well a commission fee, as well having to ship the car somewhere to do it. It makes no sense at all unless you just suck at selling, which I didn't. So I never ended up selling a car at auction, okay? And that's, you know, that's no skin off my neck. But I kept watching the auctions. You know, even in 2008 when the housing crisis came or whatever and financial things took a dive, and I've seen cars go up and down over the years. You know, back in the day when I was working as a Ferrari mechanic, I watched a different Ferrari model double in price every year. Just double in price one year. And that taught me a valuable lesson back then, that prices of cars are artificially manipulated all the time, left, right, and center, across the board. And you can really see that with cars, even motorcycles, just blowing up in value. They're not worth that much. Collectively, people in the world and auctions have driven people into this crazy like madness hysteria of thinking their cars are worth so much, and that's what's called the bubble. Eventually it freaking breaks. The cars are too valuable. They're getting shoved way up to the moon, and then you get these goofy speculators and like wealth managers that think they're hot to trot and look cool with cars, buying them up like crazy at an auction and thinking they're hot commodities going somewhere. And for a little while they are, but eventually they won't be. Unless the entire world culture changes, it can't support the value on cars with where they're going and has to end. And it's just driven higher and higher and higher. And the people that lose are the car people, the collectors. And you're thinking, oh, Casey, a bunch of people made a lot of money. Did they? Or was it mostly the auction companies making a crap load of money on these cars? Of course it is. Do you really think every car that sells at an auction actually sells? It maybe sells. It looks like it sells on the stage because you're watching a stage play. Do you really think that every phone call from an anonymous bidder or an internet bidder is real at an auction? Come on. Where I'm going with this is, the nature of how these auctions work is a game that's been studied in business with people psychology. And it's basically the study of escalation and non-cooperative behavior. And if you don't believe me, look that up, escalation and non-cooperative behavior. And there's this great YouTube video where it's a party trick this guy used to do. I don't remember if he's a professor, a psychologist, or something like that, but it was a party trick. And he said that I have this $100 bill here. And if you want this $100 bill, two people, they can bid on it. And the bidding starts at a penny. Are you in? And they're like, sure, you're in. But the deal is, the person who wins gets the $100 bill, okay? And the person who loses, that money gets kept by the guy doing the game. So it doesn't take you long to figure out where this goes. So for a while, they just keep upbidding themselves because it doesn't matter. The guy that's gonna win is gonna win money. Until you get to that point right about $100 where people go, oh crap, I'm stuck. And they have to keep bidding and bidding and bidding and bidding and bidding and bidding until basically the person with less constitution, like personal grit or wealth, backs out first. That person loses all their money, okay? And then the guy who won lost a lot of money, depending on how high this went, because they might have spent $150 or $200 to get a $100 bill. And in a way of speaking, that's exactly what's happening with these car auctions and artificial price manipulation of classic cars, exotic cars, and things across the board. And it gets driven because there's not a lot of these cars, and the people that have the most of them can decide when to sell them, who to sell them to, if the sale is even real, how to publicize it, call the publicist, call the magazine, get this on TV. And the people that lose are all the car people. They lose out. And you're thinking, well, Casey, well, if you bought your car a while back ago and it becomes worth a bunch more money and you sold it for a bunch of money, you didn't lose. Well, right, you didn't lose monetarily, but you don't have your car. And guess what? You probably can't afford that car anymore because you probably reinvested that money in something else. So an interesting thing happens to all these cool, special cars. And it's something else that happens across the world and America and other places too. Now the game, it's a big game, and it's such a big game beyond just the auctions, what they're doing. Because let's face it, the auctions are making a ton of money. They're the ones winning. But who it's hurting is the car people and the ability to drive the cars and enjoy them for what they are, because they get inflated to a price of value. The people put them on a pedestal and don't do anything with them anymore. And that's the biggest reason no young people care about old cars anymore. You goofballs made them worth too much money, and we don't want to mess with them. It's true. Pre-war cars are great, but you're all just taking them to your grave. It's the same thing with 50s and 60s cars and race cars. Have fun polishing your car in your grave, because we don't want to spend this much money on them. Anyway, so where it's going is this. It's a big game, and it's so exciting and interesting. What effectively happens is, when the prices go up for a car that's still a four-wheeled car. I'll give you an example. A 250 Ferrari GTO, we can argue what their value may be privately or at auction, could be anywhere from $40 to $100 million right now. No car is worth $40 to $100 million because you can make an exact replica of it with the same techniques for $1 million or less. So you're saying that the story of that car's existence back when is worth tens of millions of dollars, pushing $100 million? It's not. And if it is, that means culture has totally changed, but culture hasn't changed that much. So the crazy thing that happens is cool cars get taken away from the lower classes, and they get taken and held captive by the upper classes. I'm not kidding. They get stolen by the rich. And nobody realizes it because they never extrapolate the game that big or look at the 50,000 foot view, so to speak. But that's exactly what's happening. So you might do okay on the low end, but eventually you're never going to get to play with the cars you once enjoyed, unless you become wealthy. And if you become wealthy, are you really going to want to play with them the same way you did before? Or maybe you're going to find something that's more meaningful in life to do? I got to be honest, I don't like these auctions. I don't like watching them. I think they're vulgar and disgusting. Because a car that's been made too shiny and everything goes on stage and everybody's excited for how much money it makes. Well, guess what? Generations previous. Okay, I was born in 1981, so I'm going to talk to baby boomers and before. I love pre-war cars, but you guys made them too valuable for anybody to do anything with them. So they sit in museums and collections, and will eventually be liquidated by younger families who don't care about them because you never let younger people care about them and go to museums or who God knows where. They're dead. It's the same thing with 50s and 60s cars for you baby boomers and everything you like. It doesn't matter whether it's a European sports car, a Can-Am race car, or a muscle car. You guys were so excited with them and so excited at the auctions and making money and feeling important that you never passed them on. The auctions are the ones making all the money, and in the end, it will hurt the car world and car industry and working on cars. But nobody ever paid attention to that because they were too excited by the money. I wasn't. I just liked the cars. So it's food for thought, guys. I hope I made sense, but you know, that got me kind of feisty. So today, in this Aston Martin DB7 that nobody seems to care about and is worth the price of the average new car in America, I'm gonna enjoy it. Because it's not about money, it's about enjoying cars.